It is rare to find so much industry expertise all in one spot, right at your fingertips. The world of public adjusting and insurance claims can be a scary one. This changes now. That's why we built this podcast for you, where all the industry experts converge. Let us be your guide to education and personal growth. You're listening to Because Experience Matters, the show for public adjusters who want to up their game. Hosted by the 2021 Public Adjuster of the Year, Jack Hanks. How much money are you leaving on the table by not knowing all the approaches you can take to maximize the payouts to the insured and profits for your business? On this show, you will discover untapped strategies to become an unstoppable public adjuster and an effective advocate for your clients. In every episode, Jack brings on all the industry big dogs, including leading roofers, contractors, lawyers, accountants, and marketers. You'll access the insider scoop, real case studies, real obstacles, and actionable winning solutions. Let's jump in so that you can stop working hard and start working smart.
All right, guys, Jack Hanks, welcome to the Because Experience Matters podcast. I'm very excited today. We got to know Derik and his company the last couple of years pretty well. And I must say, Derik, I actually think you have one of the coolest jobs in our little community of roofing and storm chasing, man. So congrats on that. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. I might agree with you a little bit. I kind of love my job.
It's neat, right? Like you get to go around and see cows being blown around and Chevy trucks being blown in the air and stuff, So
right.
Awesome. You're the first guy in. So what I want to talk about though in the beginning is kind of like, 15, 20. You guys, how old's Hail Trace now?
We're 12 years old.
12 years old. So let's go back 20 years. And what the heck were you doing? And what kind of led to this is a great, how did you get here from where, you know what I mean? Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm intrigued by that actually. So.
Yeah. So, I'm not from the roofing industry at all.
You're lucky.
Or I'm dumb and I just jumped into it. Right. So I had a chance to not be in it. And
right.
Here I am now. If you go back 20 years ago, so you're talking 2002, 2000, so right in that time frame, so I'm fairly young at that point, but I'm holding a job at America Online. For most people don't remember what that is.
Dial-up
internet. Yeah,
baby.
Heck yeah. So what's interesting about that job is that's where I learned sales.
Okay.
So they had a tremendous process for teaching sales. And
what did you do there? I was signed up for their service, or
I was the reverse. I had to get people to not cancel it. So it was even harder, right? So people would call in and they'd say, I don't want to keep the service. And my job was to get them to keep it. And I ended up being top 2% in the entire company. And so
I still have my credit card on file and charge me every month, by the way.
You probably called and I, talked you into keeping it for at least a couple times. So, but it's interesting to go back to how that set me up for what I do today. And just kind of understanding business. I learned a lot of different things. I got on some different leadership panels within the company, which enabled me to learn a lot about business and how things are run. And that was at a really young age. That was, so I would have been, I turned 40 this year. So I would have been, 20,
right.
So super young back then. But my side hustle. What's that?
Where were they at, in Oklahoma or where?
Yeah. They had a call center. So they had call centers all over the country. They had one in Oklahoma and Florida. So when I say I was in the top 2%, that was like top 25. I think is what I was. And that was out of over 2,000 sales reps. So that was kind of cool to get that. But my side hustle was storm chasing.
No kidding.
That's what I love doing, was chasing tornadoes. Started when I was 16, so you can go back a little bit further.
Really?
May 3rd, 1999. A buddy of mine is a big day for anybody that's been in the industry very long. They know that day. If they work claims in Oklahoma. That was the what most would say is the strongest tornado to ever hit the planet, happened on that day. And that friend, I was 16 years old. I got out of school. A friend of mine was across the street, and I said, "Hey, let's go chase this tornado." I'd always wanted to. It wasn't the strongest tornado when we left, but it was by the time we got back home. And we saw a handful of tornadoes, including that tornado that day. But I was hooked from there. So
you just jumped in your pickup truck and took off, and I mean,
don't even. This is a little Chevy Cavalier, 1995 white Chevy Cavalier.
Probably not the safest vehicle to go in a tornado with, but that's.
You know, I mean, yeah, definitely not in a tornado, but we try not to pull that off. So
No kidding.
we try to stay out of them if we can. So I've had some close calls, but you know, it's fun. But that's really how all this started. You know, as I just did that for fun all the time. You know, all the way up until 2010. And even today, obviously, in fact, today I do it for our TV station here in Oklahoma City now. So I'm on TV all the time, and I'm doing it there and just anywhere I can, really. But in 2010, a friend of my mom's was a salesperson for a roofing company.
Okay.
And she called me up after a hailstorm rolled through Oklahoma City and asked, she said, "Hey, I know you chase storms, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Do you think you would know where the hail happened in that thunderstorm?" And I was like, "Well, I can pull all the radar data and I can tell you where it was." And she said, "I'll pay you if you can do that."
And you're
and
like,
I was
what?
like, "Oh, okay." So I pull the data and I, you know, download Google Earth Pro or something like that. And I, you know, hand draw it on this map and send it over to her. And she said, "Wow, that was actually really good. It got me right in the spot." And I was like, "That's a really cool idea. I think I could maybe start a business around that." So I spent the next 2 years mostly doing R&D stuff, but trying to sell a few things here and there. Made a few bucks, and got to a point where I was comfortable enough that in 2012 I quit my job.
At AOL still, or something else?
No, I got laid off at AOL when the dial-up internet phase ended.
Yeah.
I was actually selling alarm systems for my best friend.
Oh Lord.
Which small world. The office that we used is right across the street from our office now, but the office that we're in was being built when I worked there, and I helped sell and install the fire alarm in this building. So,
oh geez.
So full circle. Now I'm here in the building, running my own company out of it.
So were you married at the time when you started your company, or?
Yes. I've been married. Let's see. So 2010. So I've been married for 5 years.
Okay. So you got home one day. Did your wife go, "What in the hell are you thinking?" Or you're like, "I got this great idea"?
Well, you know, because we kind of eased into it, it definitely wasn't one of those, you know, "I don't know what you're thinking." It was, so really 2010 wasn't a decision, because it was, I had a job, so it was just extra money in 2010. But in 2012, when I said, "Hey, I think I want to quit my job. I think I can sell enough that we can do this," that was a big decision.
Sure.
And you know, we talked about it, we prayed about it a lot. And at the time, she was, you know, so we weren't making super great money. You know, so I made okay money at the company that I worked for, Edmund Security. And she worked for our church. And if you know anybody that works at a church, they don't make very much money at all. And so, but we sat down, we had a conversation with our pastor, and he said, "You know, this is one of those moments in life where if you don't do it, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And if you do it and it doesn't work out, you'll be able to figure it out afterwards."
Exactly.
Said it's not the end of the world. He said, "So I think you got to do it." And so, you know, with that and with the prayers that we'd had, we felt like it was we were pretty confident in saying, "Yeah, let's do this." And so it was actually August of 2011. The security company I was working for, as my best friend ran it. So I let him know. I said, "Hey, there's this trade show in the roofing industry called the International Roofing Expo.
Yep.
It's in Orlando. It's in February of 2012. Said I bought a booth to it. And so about 2 weeks before that, I'm going to make that my last day here. And
what did the booth cost back then?
Huh?
What the booth cost back then?
It was like 3,300 bucks, I think, for a
Those
10
were the
by
days,
10.
right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Now I'm, now
30,000.
with staff and hotels
Yeah.
and dinners and booth and driving the truck that we take down there, all that stuff. I mean, we're 50, 60 grand
Oh,
deep
easily.
every time. So, at least. So
That's crazy. So you're one of the lucky ones that actually got to plan a little bit instead of like most of us just kind of do this by default because we had to. And we had like,
yeah.
oh crap, it's Monday morning. I need to figure this out real quick. And we jump into
Yeah.
this, right? So that's
Yeah,
really
no,
cool. You
we
to do that.
definitely got to plan it out a little bit. So that did make it a little bit easier.
Were your kids born? Your kids are younger than that, right? Or were
I
they
had
right
I
around?
had two of the four. So we've had, well, we adopted a little girl since then, and then we had a little boy since
Right.
then. So so now they're, my youngest, my son is 9, and my oldest daughter is 16.
You're ready.
And then and then we have 13 and 10. So
That's cool.
almost 11.
Did you have any worries about? So my biggest struggle when I was a contractor forever before I started doing this, man, I am all in all the time on work. And man, it took me up until 5 or 6 years ago to kind of get that balance of not overdoing it all the time, because I would come home after 15 hours a day being a restoration guy and I could not turn it off. I was always just tense and cash flow and money, and it was that freaking hamster wheel, man. So
Yeah.
did you have that same thing going on? You seem more level-headed than I am.
Honestly, it's still tough.
Yeah.
It's one of the, like, and we're seasonal. So,
Yep.
I have a season where I travel a lot, and then it's followed with storm season where I storm chase a lot. And then we get to kind of be more normal after that for about 6 months. But the hardest part is, it's not necessarily, you can come home. That's easy. The hard part is, how do you make the brain shut off?
Yeah.
And I still struggle, waking up at even this morning. Like, I woke up at like 3 o'clock this morning and could not go back to sleep. Like, the brain was just going. And so, about 4:30, finally, I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going back to sleep. So I just keep on going to the office, and you're, here at the office by yourself at 5 a.m. getting stuff done. And
that's the entrepreneur way, man, right? I get more work done by myself at 5:30, or another great spot for me is the airplane. When I'm in the air, anybody can call me and I have my laptop open, I can buzz through and get the texts and the emails. I can do 800 times more work because I'm not getting, like you, my phone.
People ask me, they're like, because we're about a 3-hour drive to Dallas, and I'll fly to Dallas, or we're such a poor airport, such a small airport here in Oklahoma City.
It's hard to get in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, but like, Omaha is obviously Omaha Lincoln area is like a popular location for us, with Company Can being there, and several other clients up there. And then it's obviously in the Storm Belt. So, I'll fly to Omaha, and it's a 6-hour flight, and it's a 6-hour drive because I got to connect somewhere and then fly. Everybody's like, well, why don't you just drive? And I'm like, do you know how much work I get done on a 6-hour flight?
Isn't that crazy?
You know how much work I get done on a 6-hour drive? And they're like, okay, I see.
Yeah.
So
I'm driving. I got my knee on the steering wheel. I got my phone going. I got a drink in my hand and some sort of Subway sandwich on the seat. And I'm not. It's not healthy for me to be on the road. Really, my kids get a little.
No, yeah. There's just so much going on, and I can get so much done at the airport and on a plane. So yeah, I definitely don't mind that at all.
No, that's crazy, man. So it's just a crazy cool. So I guess what we talked about this before we started recording. We talked about scariest moments, and you brought a great point up, and you said scariest moments business wise or tornado chasing. And I like to hear about both. Let's talk about your scariest moment business wise, because we've all had them, man. I mean,
sure.
We've all waken up at 3 o'clock in the morning looking at Chase to make sure the wire transfer went in, or in the beginning, it's God Almighty, right? It's and every day, right? You're it's such a slippery slope to do the right thing all the time, and to they say a good entrepreneur is right 51% of the time. It's the other 49 that's scary as hell, bro. Right? So
yeah.
What is your what's your Derik Kline scariest moment in business?
I'll give you one, and that's funny because the people that work here, they know this story now, that are still here from I think everybody that was working for me in this time is still working here too. So, which is
that's
a cool thing to have, right?
That's
so that, and we're going, yeah, we're going all the way back to 2000 and what year was that? 16? I think I want to say 2015, 14, somewhere. I can't remember the year. But it's February, and we're headed out to the International Roofing Expo. It's going to be in Las Vegas on this particular year. So I want to say it's like 14, probably 15, maybe something like that. I don't have a big staff, but I've got 3 or 4 people. But for us, our biggest revenue month is March, but our smaller revenue months are November, December, and January.
Sure.
And January and February are our biggest spending months as well. So we spend more money in those months that we make some of the lowest revenue. And back then, 8 years ago, revenue was a lot tougher to come by for us. And so every year when we got into winter, it was, did we save enough or did we make enough in the spring to be able to pay all the bills in the winter?
Right.
And usually every year we would get down to the point where it's like, oh, I don't think we did. And this particular year, we definitely did. Our payroll was a little bit higher than what it had been in the past. And so we had more bills to pay, and we're driving to the International Roofing Expo. And I know this the whole way there. I mean, my head is just spinning like, I've got to make some money. Like, I got to figure out how to make some money. We've got to and it was a few years before the IRE, we actually closed sales at the IRE. Most of the time we would go there and meet people, and then we'd make sales afterwards. And so it was like, this year we have to make sales. Like, if we don't make sales, I'm probably not going to make payroll anyways, because this is February, be able to drive 1st, home, right? Yeah, but it was like, we at least need gas money to get us home. and we're literally driving out there with this going on in our head, in my head at least. And it was it's at the end of February, I guess. So it's February 27th, and this hailstorm hits Dallas. How does Dallas get hit in February, right?
Right.
But they did. It wasn't like a big hailstorm, but it was enough that it gave us a little bit of cash. It didn't give us enough though. So I was still kind of like, oh, that was better, but I still need more. The very next day, February 28th, was the biggest hail day in the month of February ever. In fact, there were more reports of hail on that date than that one date alone made February the all-time record February for U.S. history on hail.
Wow.
And that was the day that we were supposed to be building our booth, I think. But we ended up working nonstop on the phones. And thankfully my wife was there. My director of operations, who doesn't do sales, was there. And so they ended up setting up our booth together all by themselves, while me and a couple of meteorologists and our sales rep were literally on the phones nonstop, just making, we ended up doing a ton in sales that day. The money deposited right before payroll. And it was like, oh my God, that was way too close.
That's good. Clean living there, man. Oh my God.
Right. So, and that's, thankfully we don't deal with that now, but, you never know when that day could come again. So you're always trying to make the right decisions and keep it from getting to that point.
Every day, man, you get up and you take a deep breath and like, here we go again. Right. It's not, you're no better than you are than the next day. That's the thing. It's a slippery slope, right, dude. It
really is. It goes fast.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. We'll do, I think we had 22 claims come in yesterday, and there's no guarantees we get one in today, right? So it's just the grind and the grind and the grind and the grind and the worry. And I think that's what the entrepreneur thing, man. It's it's a thing, right? Like it's
really
almost it's an addiction, just about, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. It's I've told my wife, there'll be a day that I'll step out of this, and I tell my wife, I'm like, we're going to have to spend a year not doing anything, because I have to learn how to not think about work. I was like, it'll probably take 6 months to get back to where I can go to sleep at night and not think about what do I got to do the next day, or what's going to happen, what fire am I going to have to put out, or what success are we going to have too? Like that's probably going to be a thing. We've got to celebrate a lot too, and so there's a lot of things that can happen. So it's it'll take some getting used to when you're not doing it.
Well, the problem is, like all of us, I mean, we live and die on these things, right?
Yep.
And I mean, we're so accessible anymore. Like we pride ourselves on being accessible and answering our clients and taking calls. And I have to mentally put the phone down at dinner with my family to make sure that I'm giving them the attention. And how sad is that you got to like mentally say, you know what, I'm going to take 45 minutes, and then it takes everything I have not to look at the freaking phone. And it's
right.
It's one of my if I could get better at one thing, it'd be that, is kind of segmenting my time better to kind of make sure I'm giving to my family as much as I need. I mean, I think I do better now than I did.
Yeah,
but man, it's a struggle, bro. And the problem, like you, the more successful you are and your team's successful, it's like,
well, it changes who needs stuff from you, right? So like I don't take many client phone calls anymore.
I just call Brandon. So
yeah, right. that's why I have him, right? So he can take all of this. But I have to take phone calls from Brandon and my other sales people and my customer success and my meteorologist. We've got a staff of 25 people now. So
oh my God. So can you tell me what that looks like? I was curious about that. What does that look like staff wise? Like who does what and how many do? That's crazy, man. Sure. 25.
Yeah. So we have 2 sales reps that handle all incoming sales. What's interesting is we produce enough leads that they don't cold call at all. Everything is just comes in. Then we have what we call our customer success team. There are 5 people on that team. So customer success once you become a client, you're assigned to a customer success rep.
Oh wow. I like that.
Their job is to handhold you, basically to do whatever it is that you need to help you out. Training, help you with create new users, let you know that there was a storm yesterday, whatever it is, right? And obviously the app does that stuff, but we also understand that we're in a blue collar industry that's not as technology savvy. And so we want to kind of handhold in that process. In fact, a couple of years ago, we found out that the biggest reason people canceled their service with us was because they didn't know their password. Funny
story about that. Brandon and I and Will from Merlin and Todd Stern, I think we were at SRC Summit this year. And we had a couple of drinks and we're telling war stories. And Brandon was telling the story about how everybody had the same password. So people were just exchanging the password around. So you guys didn't know you had all these extra clients. It was hysterical. Yeah.
Yeah. We had to fix that problem too.
that was his, because we all go through stuff like that. Like, oh shit, I'm giving away my product for free now. Right.
Yep. So, so it's, but we've got, customer success, then we've got, director of operations. That's Matt Grassmeyer. He's kind of responsible for making sure the day-to-day works the way that it is. We've got Amanda who does I call her our comptroller, but basically she makes sure that, revenue is showing up right, but also that, we follow the rule that everything gets documented in our CRM. And so she makes sure that everything is working that way. We've got a team of 6 meteorologists.
Wow.
So they hand track everything. And then we've got a team of, we've got a business development who does, two of those that do different partnerships and different biz dev type stuff, more corporate type stuff.
Yeah.
And then we've got 6 software engineers. So
holy crap.
I think I gave all of it. So, and that if you've ever shopped a software engineer, that is not a cheap ticket item to pick up. So,
no, I'm sure there's a few zeros in those checks every week, right?
Yes, there are. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with all that.
So I bet most people, I mean, I didn't realize you had that big a staff. I mean, it's I'm sure it's amazing what goes into what you guys do. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's like a production line.
Yeah, it's crazy where it's gotten to.
Yeah. So, one thing, what's cool about you guys, and Todd Stern and I work tons of claims together, and I don't think these most people, most PAs, most attorneys, most roofers don't realize that the weather data you guys collect is so important on these claims. You know, we have a huge claim in Scottsdale we're doing right down the road here that we brought you guys in on for the weather, and we were able to. So the engineer on the opposing side, the carrier side, pulled weather from the airport, which is 11 miles from the claim.
Sure.
Like some wind, some hail, blah, 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 blah. We were able to pinpoint the day of the loss, the exact time, and the downdraft that hit that particular freaking building. And that claim went from 48,000 to it's going to be over 3 million, just because we're able to pinpoint the exact weather that hit that building that day. I don't think these guys realize how important that data is. So our job as a PA is collect all this data, right? Engineers and meteorologists and estimates and all these things. And our job is to package it up, make it look, make it legitimate and factual, and then present that to the carrier, and then, negotiate in good faith to get these things paid. But people don't realize that the importance of that meteorology report that can go on, because that can win or lose a battle. Because like I said, I guarantee, we always see the CoreLogics and the stuff from the other side, and it's never at the site. It's always airport or whatever, you know what I mean? So you talk about how important that is, because that can win or lose the battle.
There's a big difference between, and it also goes down to the type of claim that you're working as to how important and the accuracy of the data that you get is, right? How big did you say that claim went from 48,000 to what?
It's going to be, I think it's 3.1 mil right now.
Yeah. Okay. So 3.1 million. And I'm just going to put myself in the insurance carrier's shoes for a second. Yep. I'm going to say, I'm in the process of potentially paying out $3.1 million on one property. I'm sure I've collected a lot of claims, but I'm going to confirm that there was weather at that address. I'm not paying out a $3.1 million claim if I don't have to. And that's just good business, right? Sure. Like we put a contract in place and we've got so many numbers around that contract that I can tell you how often I'm going to have to pay a claim on that. And I want to make sure that this isn't one of those cases where I don't have to pay that claim. Right. So they're going to call your bluff. Now, if it's a $5,000, 3-tab shingle replacement, they may not. And so if you want to grab just a quick algorithm, CoreLogic, you name the company, right? Even we have them, right? We have the automated ones that you can grab real quick.
Boom. Yeah.
That's going to work. That's nobody's going to bat an eye over that. But when you start doing these bigger claims, having an actual meteorologist review at the address exactly what happened and can confirm with radar data that, not only that, but put together this massive report that says, here's how I confirmed it. Here's what happened at the airport, but here's why it was different at the property. Yep. And here's everything that backs that up. Having that ability to do that. And especially, I always like, Todd does this a lot. He likes to pull them before he even gets really involved. And that's because it's all about, don't let them start arguing that it didn't happen. Just go to them with the correct data, provide it to them, and let's move this thing along. We've even got contractors now that, like the big commercial contractors, that are starting to do this, right? Where they're saying, you know what, this is a $3 million claim, $1,500 or $2,000 for a really a 30-page weather report that I can provide to the insurance guy. It's a drop in the bucket to get this thing paid in months instead of years. Yes. Right. That's the difference, right? If you can provide the data, all the data that you need, policy, we break it into 3 buckets, right? If you're doing an insurance claim, there are 3 buckets. There's policy. What does the policy say? That's really important. Yep. That's your arena, right? You're the expert in that area. Then there's fix it. That's your engineers and your contractors. They're great at that. But then you've got to have a weather event. Yep. Right. Or you've got to have a reason why you have a loss. Yeah. And so if it's a weather event that caused the loss, then we're the expert that can come in and resolve that. And if you can answer all 3 of those quadrants, you can get a claim bot. And so what a lot of contractors have started doing with us is they've started getting these, we're not quite an expert level report, but right under it, And they'll have us put that together because it speeds up the process of getting that expensive claim, because they're going to call your bluff. They're not going to write a check for $3 million without dotting the I's and crossing the T's. It's going to happen.
Oh, exactly. And they're getting more sophisticated as well. And, our job is to be, I always tell our team, our job is to get it right. And a lot of times, we'll get a claim in and like, hey, the client will say, 3 miles from here was a big event. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean your building got affected. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. So double and triple checking those facts. Man, I don't want to waste, a $30,000 engineer fee and my guy's time and, staff, and we can spend 50, 60 grand in a heartbeat.
I'll give you two good stories right now, right off the top of my head. Recent stories. We had a church building in Choctaw, Oklahoma, actually just right down the road from us. Contractor had claimed a date of hail in July. It was a big metal roof. Insurance company looked, said didn't hail there. Contractor said it did. I got this report. I'm not going to list the company that they got the report from, but they had this report, and so told the policy holder, all right, we filed the claim. They're not going to pay it. Let's sue them. They go to hire an attorney. The attorney reached out to us and said, hey, I got this report. It doesn't look super great. But it says that they had 2-inch hail at the property on July 29th or whatever the date was. Can you guys confirm that I'm okay to take this case? So we go and look it up. They had a light shower that day. It may be enough to wet the pavement. So now we're in the battle of, well, we've got a statute of limitations. The insurance company knows there's damage at the property. They saw it. They weren't fighting the damage. They said, this policy says you have this window of time to file a claim. It's in the contract. Like, we're not going to argue about it. Was there a hail event in that window of time? So we go look through. There wasn't. We had to go 3 years prior to the statute of limitations on the policy. And that's when the property was hit, and the hail size, everything matched up with the damage that they had at the property. But doing the due diligence on, this one was probably a $400,000 roof. Doing the due diligence on the top of that would have saved the contractor, and really the policy holder would have been able to potentially make a different outcome of that just by waiting to file that claim. The other one was we actually got hired by the carrier on this one.
Come on,
we'll get hired by both sides, because to us it's a yes or no question.
Right, facts, right?
Was there a storm?
Yep.
This one was super sketchy though. So, and most of the time we don't see it like this, but this one was super sketchy. This was in Dallas, Texas. They were claiming that the property was hit with the tornado, the October tornado, the F3 that hit Dallas a few years back. So that they claimed tornado damage. So the carrier sends an engineer out immediately, since we have tornado, which makes sense to me. Like, you'd send the significant damage, right? If you're hit by a tornado, he gets there, he doesn't find tornado damage. But this is where it gets weird. He said he found hail damage. And so they're like, well, I wonder why they claimed tornado damage. Right. And there's not even wind damage on the property, but there is hail damage. And so they tell the policyholder that, and the roofer, and they say, oh yeah, it was actually, well, it hailed on the day of the tornado. It didn't get hit by the tornado.
Interesting.
So we had hail that day. So we got hired to prove, did it hail or not at the property on that day. We looked, the tornado was 3 miles away. So they definitely didn't get hit by the tornado. Unfortunately, they didn't get hit by hail either. That storm was not producing any hail. You had to go all the way back to 2011 to find hail on that property. So, it's a yes or no question. When I put a meteorologist on it, I can take a lot of those automated dates where people are saying, yes, it hailed on this date. And you'd be surprised. Radar doesn't miss it by that much. A lot of times it's the algorithms that they're taking the radar data and they're making blends to make it nice and smooth and pretty. That's what misses it.
Right. Sure.
And so, when a meteorologist jumps in there, a lot of times we're just trying to answer the question of how big. The yes or no, did they get hail? That's usually pretty easy for us.
Okay.
It's the was it 2 inch? Was there a lot of it? That's sometimes can be the harder question to answer, but did they get hail? That's real easy.
Well, my big, we have a lot of our speeches are very similar. I tell my roofers, man, every roof in the world does not have hail damage or a wind event hit it. Sometimes it doesn't happen. So
Yep.
my biggest frustration in the industry is some of these guys are throwing crap against the wall to make it stick.
Yeah.
And all that's doing, it's number one, it's wearing the carriers out. So they're clamping down. And number
Yep.
two, it's wearing your client out. It's putting a claim on his policy, which they didn't need to have. And number
Yep.
two, it's, they turn around like, oh, you didn't do your job properly. I'm like, I have nothing to work with, right? Just like you said, I need a policy in effect with the storm, with actual real damage. If those three
Yep.
things are in line, I'll get that done all day and all night. But I can't make, we don't make stuff up here. And I preach and preach and preach, get it right, get it right, get it right, get it right. And that means if there's not a claim, there's not a claim, bro. There's not.
Yep.
You know, and I don't want to waste my time, energy, money, resources on that stuff. And that's the hardest part of our industry. I think the training goes a long way to get these guys it's all on the same page. Like, right, like you just said, it's yes or no. Did it get hit? Yes. When did it get hit? Boom. Is there a policy? Yes. And we can work through that. And that's, the carriers want that as well. They don't want to, how much time do they spend going through erroneous claims? I bet half the time, right?
Yeah. I mean, that our estimate is the average for them to work a claim, the average claim costs them $750 just to work it. That's not the part that they're paying out to the policyholder. That's $750 to send an adjuster out to, that's the average claim, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of expense to them too. So they, and again, I think there's good people on both sides of this industry. There's bad people on both sides of this industry. And I mean, that's probably any industry as a whole. I don't know which one is higher or lower. Don't really care. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And that's, we're going to do the right thing. So
that's exactly what's important, man. It's that extreme 5% on both sides that make it miserable for all of us. Right.
Yeah. Right.
There's shitty PAs and there's shitty adjusters and there's shitty attorneys, there's shitty meteorologists. And if I think we're both pretty lucky. We're kind of in that arena that we all know who's good and who's bad, and we stick to our meat and potatoes stuff, right? That's what I've learned, man. Run with the right people, it makes it easier. So
that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
So what's your scariest moment when you're out chasing these things, man? Is there any Twister movie events you guys been involved in or things like that?
We've had some close calls. My most recent one was last spring, actually. We were nighttime chasing, which is kind of difficult to do.
Really?
Yeah, because you can't see the tornado, right?
Oh my God.
I mean, so we're chasing this storm, and it's been okay. It hasn't produced a tornado. It's been close a few times. And then it kind of weakens. And so it's producing some hail still. And we're doing this for the TV station. So we decide, I was like, well, let's go up and see how big the hail is in it. So we're going to go up and core punch the storm. And the biggest hail is usually pretty close to where the tornado is. Like there's like a little 1 mile gap basically where there's no hail or rain and then the tornado. So you have hail, 1 mile gap of nothing, and then tornado. But there was no tornado warning, right? So the storm had kind of weakened. So we go up and we core punch. So we're on that right on the line of the hail. But if there was a tornado, it'd be a mile away.
Right. No big deal.
And so we start to get some hail, and then our phone goes off for they'd issued a tornado warning again. And we weren't paying attention really. So, the storm had kind of weakened. And so we thought it was basically done. And, it was supposed to weaken as it moved off to the north. And there was this other storm, like 50 miles away, that had a really good tornado. So I was kind of looking at that on radar and not really paying attention to the storm I was chasing. Anyway, my phone goes off. So I pull up, I go, oh crap, there's a tornado warning back. This thing went back up again. And I read the warning and it says confirmed, spotters report a tornado. And I was like, and I look over at John, our lead meteorologist, he's driving for me and he goes, where is it? And I go, I mean, it's got to be like right here somewhere because we're really close to where it would have been. And he goes, so what should we do? And I was like, I guess just keep driving. And like, so we've got this 360 camera. So I'm trying to like spin it around to see if I can find the tornado.
Right.
And it's pitch black outside. There's no lights. We're not in the city. We're out in the middle of nowhere, pitch black. And then it kind of starts raining a little bit. And the 360 camera works pretty good at night if it's not raining. If it's raining, the infrared, it lights up the raindrops. And so I can't see anything. It just blasts out the light. And so it starts raining. And then all of a sudden the wind starts ripping to the west. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. We got a west wind. That means the tornado's in front of us. And it only did that for about 5 seconds. And then it stopped and went back to the east and then back to the west and back to the east. And then I was like, okay, it's probably, I don't think it's on the ground. I don't know where it is. I'm going back. I have no idea where it is. He's like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, I guess just sit here because I don't know where it's at. I don't know where it's going, but hopefully it just formed. So hopefully it's pretty weak. So maybe it, worst case scenario, just tip us over. And so thankfully it didn't hit us. And so, but that was a close one. I don't know how close we were to it. Still to this day, but I know spotters. What's that?
How much screaming is involved when that happens?
None. We were both kind of shaking. We were kind of like, oh, that was close. And then it was like, all right, let's go do it again. So and we did. We took off and went back after it again. So so that was a good time. Then we had 2013, I was chasing the largest tornado ever recorded in the world. So they measured it at 2.6 miles wide. It's in El Reno, Oklahoma. This was not for a news channel. In fact, you can go to my YouTube page. You can find the video there. So chasing the largest tornado. And so this tornado decides it's moving southeast. And so we're kind of going southeast with it. We're in that 1 mile zone I was telling you about. We're in that. That's where I like to be. So there's big hail falling just to my north, tornado half mile to my south, 2.6 mile wide tornado just to my south. And so we're just kind of following along, just paralleling the tornado, and it decides to turn and come back to the north, which we expect to do. So we see it start to turn. It had gotten about 2 miles away from us. And then so it starts to come back up to the north. And as it does, it goes from going to the southeast at 20 to the northeast at us at 60 miles an hour. So it decided to accelerate.
Right.
And then it grew from 1 mile to 2.6 miles wide in 30 seconds. And so we're watching this thing just ripping up the road at us. And I got this Mustang in front of me that's scared for good reason. There's a big tornado coming at us. And he's driving about 40 miles an hour. The wind's pretty strong. So he's driving about 40 miles an hour down the road. And that's not fast enough. It's going to cross the road and we've got to be ahead of it when it crosses the road. And this guy, you can hear me in the video, I'm laying on my horn trying to get this guy to go. And there's these big power lines too. I'm like, if those power lines fall, we're done. We're not gonna be able to go down the road any further. They're gonna block the road. We will be done. And thankfully they didn't fall, and the tornado literally comes up right and just crossed right behind us, a quarter of a mile behind us, close enough that I had insulation in the back of my truck.
Holy Christ.
So that was probably the only time that I was like legit scared. Like the nighttime deal, I wasn't really scared as much as like, I don't know where it is. Right. But I wasn't scared. So yeah, that was an intense one.
You're a better man than I am. Not even close. Holy moly. Well, we're about ready to wrap things up. It's only been an hour. I can't believe it, man. Things go so fast, dude.
I know, it's quick.
I always ask one final question. If you had to go back and give yourself some advice before this whole thing started, what would be the best advice you could give a Derik Kline in 2012, man?
Man.
Not changing anything, but advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. I would say it's all gonna work out. Like all the worry, you know what I mean? Like all the times where I'm like, this is, which probably shouldn't change anyways. Like I think we do things because of the worry that probably gets us to where we are. But and so I mean I definitely wouldn't change anything. But I would say the worry. Don't stress over stuff that you don't need to stress over. That most things are smaller than what you think they are when you're in the moment.
100%. When you're in the heat of it, man, you're not. Yeah, the worry is that's the worst part, because there's some things we just can't control, right? I can't control it, but even if we're right on the claim, the carrier may not pay it.
Yeah,
we may go to trial, we may lose. Like you gotta that's the difficult
what you can
part.
do. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, our hardest thing is, even if we're right, we may still not win. That's the difficult part for our business.
Yeah.
So but I think maturity comes, and you get to learn what's important and what's not. I mean, everything's important, but there's different levels, and some stuff it's you. And I've also learned I can't make everyone happy.
Yep.
Well, before 20 years ago, I get somebody like upset about oh, I wanted 833,000. You got me 799,000. Like, well. Now I'm like, well, that's pretty. Well, it was zero, so
you're right.
Sorry about the 800 grand check coming. So it just, if my biggest thing, if you can wake up every day and then work hard and do the right thing and not be an idiot and do dumb shit, you know what I mean? That's the key, because when you're young and dumb, you all think you're bulletproof, and we're all not. That's the thing,
Yep.
So what's the next step for you guys, man? What's something on the horizon? Anything big coming down, or just keep grinding, or?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously we've got the grind, right? Like, you just got to keep going day to day, but we are working on, we have a whole new version of our app that basically opens the door for us to do a lot of new stuff. So our goal has been, so the new version will come out July 18th. So we can kind of start spreading that word around.
Breaking news today on the podcast. That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. So, so stuff will be changing July 18th. So get ready for that.
Right.
That's always tough for customers to see something and see it change.
Yeah.
But it is for the better. It enables us to do a lot of stuff, because our goal is, we want to get to the point where, instead of telling you what size of hail happened at a property, we want to get to the point where we start telling you, is there damage at the property?
Okay.
So that's been our agenda for about the last 4 years. We've probably invested a little over $2 million on it so far. We spent some money on it. So, but we're getting there now. We're testing solutions and finding that we are answering that question, that if I tell you there's damage at a property, there was damage at a property. If I tell you there wasn't, there isn't. So, so we're getting to some really cool data. So now it's just a matter of getting our software to a point where we can input that data into it and build a UI and build a platform that allows the contractor to use that data. So, that's what we're working on now. That won't come out on July 18th, but the platform that it will be built on will come out July 18th, and then hopefully the rest will come shortly after that. So
you come a long way since AOL.com and the dial-up and the annoying noise and the
right.
That's crazy. That's what I mean. The technology anymore, like, that's why claims are so different, because it's all data based and factual stuff. Dude, back when I first started doing this, we didn't have any of that. We, back in the late 80s, early 90s, we climbed on the roof, like, yeah, there's damage. I don't know. I have no idea when the hail event was or the wind. We just write it up, meet the adjuster, writes a check. We're like, okay, cool. Now it's all, everything, ducks have to be in a row, and it's good and bad. But technology is improving, and it's changed our business 180. I like, because everything's very it's very factual now. We're not really debating. It's like, here's the weather, here's the policy, let's go, right? It takes I like all that, get rid of that drama, man. And
no gray area, it's black or white. Let's just
100%, dude. I love it, man. So, man, I'm so happy you're on today, and I'm so proud of what you guys do. And you guys have done nothing but help our business, man. And Todd and I swear by you, and you guys are great, and your staff has been nothing but great to us. And I refer you as much as I can. So it's phenomenal what you guys have over there. It's great. It's thumbs up from this side. So.
Well, we definitely appreciate it. So we can say the same about you. We hear nothing but good things. So
we try, man. It's hard work, bro. You know how it goes. So anyway, man, thank you so much for being on today.
Absolutely.
July 18th. Everybody look for that update on the app. That's exciting stuff. How do they get a hold of you, Derik? I mean, or your staff to get signed up or whatever. And if you guys aren't signed up, I encourage you today, because this is talk about an app that's needed for your business, man. This is phenomenal. How do they get a hold of you guys?
So obviously you got the website, healthtrace.com. You can email us info@healthtrace.com. That's an easy way. Or you can just call us 855-334-4245. So that's 855-HELL.
Oh, cool.
So 855-334-4245. So
got it, man. Hey, man, thank you so much. I'll see you at the next event, I'm sure, like always. So
yeah, we'll see you there.
All right, tell everybody, hey, thank you again, guys. Take care. Because experience matters, guys. Appreciate it. Peace out.
Thanks for tuning in to the Because Experience Matters podcast. That's all for today's show. If you want to learn more or work with Jack in person, visit www.thejackhanks.com. Oh, and don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify to continue to grow the podcast and change the industry.